On the slopes of Mount Doom, as the One Ring was unmade, the Nazgûl shrieked in despair, were caught in the fiery ruin, and vanished from the world. Their very existence, which was bound entirely to Sauron's will and the power of his ring, was snuffed out in an instant. That is the canonical end we all know. But what if it wasn't? What if, in that cataclysmic moment, the destruction of the Master Ring didn't destroy the Nine, but instead set them free? This is the story of a fourth age that never knew peace, an age where 9 masterless, immortal kings, the Nazgûl unbound, rose to claim their own dominion over Middle-earth. Before we explore this age of shadow, be sure to light up the like and subscribe waystones, and hit that notification bell to join our fellowship for more journeys into the deepest what-ifs of Middle-earth. To understand how the Nazgûl could have survived, we first have to get how they were enslaved. For thousands of years, they were puppets, their wills completely overwritten by their dark master. Sauron pulled their strings through the One Ring. When Frodo put on the ring inside Mount Doom, Sauron's eye snapped to him, and he sent his 8 remaining wraiths screeching on their fell beasts to get it. But they were too late. As Gollum and the ring fell into the fire, the connection was severed. In our timeline, that break was absolute, a spiritual cataclysm that unmade them. But for this story to work, let's bend the rules of Tolkien's world just a little. The 9 rings given to men are what first twisted their mortality, eventually pulling them completely into the Wraith world. And while Sauron kept their 9 rings in Barad-dûr to ensure total loyalty, the deep magic of those rings is what first created and sustained their spectral forms. In this alternate reality, the One Ring's destruction acts like a metaphysical circuit breaker. It shatters Sauron's dominion, but the inherent corrupting magic of the 9 rings, while massively diminished, doesn't vanish entirely. It leaves an echo. Imagine it from their perspective, a final, piercing shriek of a master's command, followed but an eternity of agonizing silence. The will that had been their entire reality for millennia is just gone. They aren't destroyed, but they are hollowed out, their power gutted without Sauron to fuel them. They're diminished, but for the first time in an age, they are their own masters. They are free. And in that freedom, ancient, long-buried ambitions begin to stir. At first, there'd be nothing but chaos and confusion. The 8 surviving wraiths, scattered and weak, would instinctively flee the ruin of Mordor. Their first job wouldn't be conquest, but survival and the slow, painful rediscovery of their own identities. For ages, they were a terrifying collective, extensions of a single mind. Now, they are individuals again, 9 once great kings, sorcerers and warriors of old, cursed with undeath and a corruption so deep it can never be erased. They would creep back to places where the memory of shadow still lingered. The desolate ruins of Minas Morgul, the haunted eaves of Dol Guldur, the cold barrows of Turngothad. In these dark places, they would start to remember who they were before Sauron. And with memory comes ambition. This new freedom isn't a gift, it's a new kind of torment. With no master to command them, they're left with only their own bottomless greed, their lust for power, and a burning hatred for the world of the living. The peace of the Fourth Age is a dream, already doomed before it can begin, because the seeds of 9 new dark kingdoms are taking root in the shadows of Middle-earth. The singular threat of Mordor is gone, but in its place, a far more complicated and insidious evil rises. Instead of one Dark Lord, the world now faces 9. First among them would be the one who, in this timeline, we must imagine was never slain on the Pelennor fields, the Witch King of Angmar. As the most powerful and hateful of the 9, his obsession has always been the ruin of the Dunedain and their kingdoms. His old kingdom of Angmar in the north lies in ruins, but the memory of its power is a potent weapon. He would return to the frozen mountains, to the fortress of Carn-dûm. His terrifying presence alone would be enough to rally the scattered hillmen, orcs, and other foul things that lurk in the dark corners of the north. His goal? Frighteningly simple. Finish what he started thousands of years ago. He wouldn't try to rule the world, but to bleed Aragorn's reunited kingdom dry, waging a guerrilla war of pure terror and attrition against the newly re-established northern realm of Arnor. Meanwhile, a second, more organized threat would rise in the east. Khamûl, the Easterling, second in command of the Nazgûl and a former king of the peoples of Rhûn, would return to his homeland. Unlike the Witch King, Khamûl wouldn't need to build a kingdom from scratch. He'd be taking it back. The Easterlings had long served Sauron, and the return of one of their own as an immortal sorcerer king would feel less like a conquest and more like a divine ascension. He would forge the scattered tribes into a disciplined and massive empire, a new eastern power to rival Gondor. His methods would be different from the Witch King's sheer terror. He'd offer order, strength, and glory, building a kingdom ready to challenge Aragorn on the field of open battle. And the other 7? Tolkien hints that 3 of the Nazgûl were once great lords of Númenórean blood. Their corruption and self-loathing would twist into a venomous hatred for Aragorn, the heir to the very line they betrayed. They would find fertile ground for their ambitions in the south, among the Haradrim and the corsairs of Umbar, who were themselves descended from the Black Númenóreans. They would become phantom kings of the deserts and seas, turning the southern trade routes into gauntlets of piracy and raising armies to strike at Gondor's soft underbelly. The remaining 4 would become regional monsters, carving out smaller but no less terrifying domains. One might haunt the dark paths of Mirkwood, a lingering shadow that even the elves couldn't cleanse. Another might claim the Grey Mountains, seeking to rouse the dragons that still slept there. Others could establish fiefdoms in the blighted lands of Khand or the desolate plains south of Mordor. Each wraith would be a festering wound on the face of Middle-earth, ruling through the sheer power of their terrifying presence and the chilling aura of the Black Breath. For King Elisar and the reunited kingdom, the dream of a peaceful Fourth Age dies before it's ever truly born. The victory in the War of the Ring would feel tragically hollow. They prepared for a world without Sauron, not a world with 9 of him. For Aragorn, this new reality is a strategic nightmare. Gondor and Rohan, exhausted from the war, would be forced to fight on every single front at once. Imagine the impossible choices. While Aragorn's armies march north to contain the Witch King's insurgency, Khamûl's disciplined legions could be massing at the eastern borders, threatening to overrun Ithilien. As he sends fleets to fight the ghost corsairs of Umbar, word might arrive of a new plague of fear spreading from the mountains, turning entire villages into silent, haunted tombs. The heroes of the age, Aragorn, Eomer, Legolas, and Gimli, wouldn't be statesmen rebuilding their world. They'd be permanent generals fighting an endless, unwinnable war. The very soul of mankind would be under siege. The hope and courage that won the war against Sauron would curdle into paranoia and despair. In a world with 9 immortal lords of darkness, some men would inevitably lose faith in the light. Dark cults would spring up, offering servitude to these new, tangible masters in exchange for power or a merciful death. The unity of the free peoples would splinter under the strain. The Fourth Age wouldn't be the age of men, but the age of endless war. A long, slow twilight under the shadow of the 9 Unbound Kings. The destruction of the One Ring in this dark timeline didn't bring peace. It just shattered a singular, massive evil into 9 distinct and eternal shards of darkness. Middle-earth would be a land trapped in a perpetual state of war, its people forever looking to the horizon for the next winged shadow, the next chilling cry. The Nazgûl, finally free, would have achieved their original desire, to be mighty kings. But their kingdoms would be built on ash and fear, and their rule would be an eternal, joyless victory, a curse they could never escape. But that leaves us with one final, chilling question. Which of these new Nazgûl kingdoms do you think would be the greatest threat to Gondor? The anarchic terror of the Witch King? The disciplined empire of Khamûl? Or the insidious corruption of the Númenórean wraiths? Let me know your theories in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey into shadow, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more explorations into the what-ifs of Middle-earth. Thanks for watching.